So welcome back, everyone. So in today's episode, we're going to be demystifying Dharma and Karma. We're also going to talk about the cyclical nature of the reincarnation wheel. And our smart guest Tony is also going to tell us how to graduate from art school.
Yeah, because it's a school, right?
And give us a cheat sheet on how to get the hell out of this wonderful,
Wonderful.
school with flying colors.
I sense some kind of irony in your comments there.
Well, welcome back, Tony. Thank you for coming to Sisterhood Smarts. How are you?
I'm all right. Like I said to you off camera, I'm as well as you can be in this mental asylum, and we were just discussing on offline there the pantomime that we've seen over the last few weeks. So just digesting the fact that many people still need a saviour has been a little bit disappointing. I won't lie. I'm always very honest and say things as I see it. As I said to you guys, I think it's kind of a barometer of where this movement's at. And I was hoping after he had tried to kill everyone first time round that people would maybe realise that he's not going to do anything really to help us. He's, as I say, he's already put in the brain chip guy Elon Musk in his cabinet, and it's, I don't know, it's just frustrating, and I just wish people could do the work on themselves to move into what I call that sovereign energy, which is not so much spirituality but sovereignty. I prefer sovereignty over spirituality because spirituality has been so corrupted with all the new age stuff. I believe that we have to become sovereign. What does that mean? It means taking responsibility, displaying courage, speaking the truth, becoming our own leaders, and not needing saviors, because in this matrix, both in this physical domain and the astral domain, it's full of wolves in sheep's clothing. That's why it's called a matrix. It's full of tricks, and it's frustrating to see people falling for the same tricks. And I feel like until people really do the work on themselves, really ponder who and what they are, do the inner work as well, to move into that energy, then a lot of people are going to struggle, just being honest again. So the last few weeks has been interesting, if not a little bit disappointing, because I thought as a community we were a little bit further forward than where we were. I thought we'd moved out of the whole believing in the two-party state and all the rest of the stuff that comes with that. So that's where I'm at the moment with it. And personally, I'm doing all right. It's all right, It's can you ever be like truly joyful and happy all the time over here in this place? I mean, because even if you are, you're always looking over your shoulder. Oh, what's going to happen next? Someone going to get sick, or what are the New World Order going to do? Are they going to? Do you know what I mean? It's never. You can never just relax into it. Do you know what I mean? It's always like.
Yeah, it's true.
Even when you're going through a good period, it's like, okay, what's over my shoulder there, right? But I try and enjoy the clown show as much as possible, and you got to laugh at it. When last time I came on, we were having a right old laugh, weren't we? So
yeah, you really got to laugh at it, because there is no other way to slice it and dice it. It just makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like, when you watch, what is it called? Men in Black? Is it Men in Black? Where they do the neuralizer?
Yeah, the memory wipe.
Yeah.
What's
is that the memory wipe thing?
I think so. Yeah, the little thing. I think they're doing that because this guy was in president. He was already won. It's just like, I think that anyway.
Yeah.
That's just
It's good. Actually, no, this isn't the first podcast I've done, but I've been wanting to get that off my chest because it needs to be said. I mean, even with like if you go along with the as I do, but I believe that this is a soul trap or a soul trick. I prefer to look at it as.
Mhm.
If you're going to get tricked by a two-party state, two evil wings of the two wings of the same evil bird. How are you going to manage to navigate yourself out of the soul tricks? In the astral realm, and this is the point that I've been trying to get across to people. But people love their saviors, and they'll come at you and they'll hate you for it for calling out the obvious, but it needs to be said. So yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even know where to start with this karma thing, right? So there's Dharma and there's karma. Now, I don't know, Tony, whether these are just some fancy buzzwords that are used because they're trendy, or they help people make sense of this whole thing, this whole structure, the system, or the earth as it's been presented to us, or whether these two concepts actually impact all of us equally in our day-to-day lives. What's your take on this?
Well, for me, I mean, I don't know if there's so much there's so much trendy. It's just they're entrenched in people's psyches. See, the problem is because people think that if something's old, if there's like an old concept that's been around for thousands of years, then automatically it has to be true. And I have this with the whole chakras, which is a completely different topic in and of itself. But we've been enslaved for thousands of years, right? So where have all these concepts actually got us? Have they moved us forward anywhere? We've been sitting, meditating, doing yoga, and all this stuff, and we're more enslaved than we've ever been, right? So. But the whole idea of karma. See, what I say is this matrix. It wants you to blame yourself for the things that happen here. It doesn't want to. It doesn't want you to look at why things here are so messed up and evil and all the stuff that's going on. It's all well. It's your karma. You chose this. You signed a contract. Even in the self-help community. I mean, I'm all for improving myself. I still do that. But when I look at what these people say, it's all something that you did or you didn't do that's put you into a position where you need to help yourself. They don't come out and say, do you know what? You need self-help because this place is bloody insane, right? This is a crazy place that you're on. So, that's what you need self-help for, but it doesn't want you to look at the matrix. It wants you to blame yourself. And karma is an excellent card that they have played or designed to get people, to get human souls to think that, they did something wrong in a past life. So these entities tell us, or they did several things wrong, or, they've told people that they were a murderer once or a robber or something. So, you've got to go back down to earth and learn your lessons, right? And so what does that do? It takes away the blame for this place being as it is, because they can say, well, you're going to need to have a difficult life because you've got all this karma that you need to resolve. Unfortunately, you're going to have to be a Vietnamese goat farmer that steps on an old bomb like in Vietnam and loses a leg for a lifetime, because that's your karma for hitting someone with a bat the previous time. It's just their way of selling all the pain, trauma, and suffering that we're subject to when we come down here. And obviously, people have fallen for it, and they put it in all their old scriptures and in Buddhism and all this stuff. And so then people they pick up an old book and they just assume that it's true. Like people seem to be up for questioning like new concepts, but they're not really up for questioning the old concepts, which I believe that we should be questioning more than anything. So so yeah, karma is just a way for them to, you know, shoehorn us back down here, get us to feel bad about ourselves, get us to feel guilt and shame about something that, you know, when we had an argument with Bob down the road over a parking space, you know, we upset him, you know, and so now we've got to come back again to live a life of suffering because Bob's feeling got hurt. You know, it's just crazy. And the other thing with it is that you just don't see it playing out on an even playing field, do you? I mean, where's the karma here? I mean, you got, you know, I'm going to go here because these are real life examples, and these things happen every day. I was watching a football. I don't know, you guys, you're in Scandinavia, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
So you call it football in English then, but the mascot came out at the front. He's only a young kid, must have been like 10. He was green, right? He was green because he had some kind of terminal illness. And I'm like, oh God, I shouldn't say God because I've got a problem with God as well. But I was like, oh, poor kid, you know, like poor kid, like 10 years old, like he's terminal. Like what a life. I mean, it's just, it made me so sad, you know. It's just like, and so I'm thinking, like the New Agers will tell you that that kid chose to have that experience, which is really messed up. It makes me so wild and angry when I hear them say that. Or they'll say, you know, God needs to experience something like that to learn. I mean, God's supposed to be omnipresent, right? He's supposed to know everything. So surely he would know how it feels to be a kid with terminal cancer. I mean, just these concepts are so annoying and inherently evil. And you know, so you got kids like him. You got kids in war-torn countries being bombed, getting legs blown off, watching their parents getting blown up, and then you've got big fat pedos running around poisoning everyone, injecting everyone. They've got all the wealth, they've got all the big houses, they've got all the land, they've got all the resources. You know, they're at their big banquets, and like they're living their best life. And it's like they're killing everyone, and they're causing all these wars and famines and the weather modification and everything that's going on. But yeah, nothing bad ever seems to happen to them. So it's not a place. And the other thing is, like, good people, inherently good people, they can go to prison for a lifetime for a crime they didn't commit. Whereas a murderer, he may get away with it. He or she may get away with it and never be found, and just live the best life ever. So you don't see it on an even playing field. I don't see karma playing out here at all. And again, you know, it's just their way of blaming you, you know, for the stuff that you need to experiencing. They can just explain it all away, you know, as bad karma. Well, you needed to do that because you needed to resolve your karma. But the funny thing is, your karma never gets resolved, right? So you go back, you live back, you've lived this life. You think you've done all right, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, but you did all right, but Shah, you know, when you had that argument with Susan, do you know what I mean? It really hurt her feelings. So unfortunately, that's a big karmic debt you got there, Shah. So back down you go." and it's just crazy that people can. I mean, it cannot be a school, because a school, you take a lesson, you might fail, and then you research the things that you found, and then you take the test again, and then hopefully you pass, right? You don't take a test, get your memory wiped, right? So you forget everything, and then take the test again. So please, someone explain to me what kind of school is. And in a school, if you want, you can bunk off if you don't like it, or you can just quit. Like, I don't like this stuff. I don't like university. I'm quitted. But you can't quit here. You got to see it all the way through until the end. Years and years and years. So nothing here makes sense, and that's for good reason, because it's set up for trauma, suffering, pain, what have you. which is really upsetting for people to hear, and I get it. And this is why there's such a backlash, because the information doesn't necessarily make you feel all gooey inside. You know, people want to believe that this place is beautiful, and don't get me wrong, there's aspects to it that are, but even nature itself is cruel. I mean, like lions eating animals alive, and everything's got to consume something else to survive. And you know, you could go outside. You could go outside on the beach, and there's people that die with the coconuts falling on their heads. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not even joking. Google how many people die from coconuts falling on their head. This place is ruthless. I could go out there on the ocean. There's bull sharks out there. If I'm in the wrong place at the wrong time, bang! I'm you know, limbs off everywhere. Do you know what I mean? It's just the whole place is. The problem is people are looking for safety here, and it doesn't exist in this realm. Like, that's something that's been hard for a lot of people to accept. It's not a safe place, like, inherently. It's just not. And that's because they need all the loosh. They need the energy from the human soul. So when when you're going through any kind of drama or trauma, they feed on all our energy, these entities and this AI God, if you like. But they particularly like the low frequency wars, famines, all that stuff. And unfortunately, the body is also designed to generate that. Another triggering. Sorry, I'm going all over the place here.
No, you're it, because the whole time you're talking, I'm just thinking about why I also brought up the word Dharma, because all the examples you've given shows a very clear imbalance in when you're being told, oh, you did this wrong to Susie and to Mike and to the dog and whatever. But if Dharma and Karma are both playing out in this art school, because they say it's a realm of duality, right? Why don't they also focus on the Dharma, the opposite? Oh, you did this good and you did this good. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
This is why I brought it up. Because
listen to this example. I've got a perfect example to this. Oh, my. I watched a documentary not so long ago, and it was about a flood that happened in New Zealand. And they were telling the story about a guy who was basically running from house to house, pulling kids and old people out of houses, right? And saving lives, right? And then they said, unfortunately, as he was running back towards this other house to collect some other person, he fell down a manhole and died, right? Wow. So here we have a guy that was risking his life, he actually died, to do good, as you say, and he ends up falling down a manhole. And what's down a manhole? All the crap and the people's stuff, right? So what a way, what a reward, hey? What a reward for him doing good, And I'm not saying that people shouldn't do good or you should be, I'm just saying that this whole kind of do good and good comes back to you, and bad, like some of the nicest people I've been really lucky in my life. I've traveled to a lot of countries. I've spent a lot of time in poorer countries. And here in Mexico, there's a lot of poor people. And what I've found on my travels is the most beautiful people with the biggest smiles, the most humble, are always the people living in squalor or just in extreme poverty. And so again, where do we see this playing out? We don't see it. We don't see all these good people being rewarded for being good and generous and all that. What we see here is an inversion. We see the opposite. We see people who are selfish, who are, willing to trample over others, willing to kill other people. They're the ones that get rewarded. So again, everything in this place is in an inversion, even to the point of, it seems like, behavior. You really don't seem to get ahead if you're a inherently good person here. It's used against you many times. I think
people tend to think you're a doormat, or you're they don't know kindness. People don't identify kindness as kindness, or when people give you grace. You do something so horrific and someone gives you grace, but people think, oh, I can do it again and again and again. I'm like, no, it was grace that you got. And I think what you're saying is you're connecting some pieces here, because the behavior that's reinforced is also educating people on what to do to get ahead.
Hmm.
So people are leaning towards not doing good because they're like, I don't get the rewards that the ones doing the most heinous stuff are getting. So I'll just lean towards doing this. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah, and the other thing is, so many people are so desperate that they're going to do stuff to survive here. If this was a place where it was abundance for all, everyone was on an even playing field. We didn't have to worry about like buying food and paying for a roof over our head. We're the only species in nature that does that. You could probably cut the crime levels in half worldwide, or even more, because a lot of people do these things, and I'm not saying it's right, but the murders and the robbing, it's all done because people are desperate. They keep people in this desperate state of scarcity, and so people end up quite often just turning to crime to survive. Basically, this is a this is almost like an eat or be eaten environment that we're in here, and yeah, it's just. And the New Agers will say that this is paradise, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Or that any suffering that happens is lessons that need to be learned, and it's an inherently evil concept. I mean, the New Age comes from Luciferian anyways. It was from Helena Blavatsky, who was a Luciferian. But when you actually think about that, I've had arguments with many a spiritual person who tells me that kid that got bombed in Gaza. I said, well, what about him or her then? What? Well, I said, how would you explain? I had this one conversation. How would you? And again, this is an extreme example. Well, it's not extreme because it happens all the time, right? But I was
Happens
trying.
all the time.
I was
I list all the countries it's happening. It's not
well. This example I'm going to give now it's very dark. But again, I was trying to get it into this person's head who was telling me that kids that suffer, they did, they're here to learn a lesson. So I said, okay, what about if you have a child that got raped behind by a big fat bishop in a church every Sunday, right? I know it's a horrible thing to hear, but it goes on, right? It goes on. How would you explain that to that child? And she actually said, well, I would say that maybe the child needed to know good. The lesson was the child needed to know the evil as well as the good. Can you believe that? Can you believe that she believes that child would have to go through something as horrific as that just to learn what it's like, duality is like? I mean, it's just,
I
it's,
think, Tony, yeah, I think, Tony, these kind of explanations, and we hear them all the time. I think it's a cop out.
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's a way to justify your lack of empathy, or you don't have to engage or be accountable or help or support or do anything, even in the presence of the most heinous stuff.
Yeah,
You can just be quiet about it and wrap it around with a ribbon and say, maybe it's their karma playing out,
absolutely.
or
It's
all these other, whatever you justify. It's a way of justifying your own inability to respond to things that are wrong.
it's to justify your lack of courage, because
Hmm.
the New Age spiritual people, they know inherently that something's not right with this world. That's why they fell into the New Age. They fell into that kind of what I call the false awakening, and in that arena, you can spiritually bypass all of this stuff by not focusing on the negative, never getting angry about anything because it will lower your vibration, or explaining things like that away. And so you're absolutely right. For someone like that, it's a very cowardice way out. They can just explain it in that way where they don't really have to get their hands dirty. They don't have to, yeah, they don't have to look at things for how they really are. But it just is such an evil way of looking at things. And yeah, it triggers me when people try and explain this place away, as it being the child's fault or our fault, or God needs to experience something. Well, God's supposed to be all knowing, right? He is, or she or whatever is supposed to know everything, feel everything, and none of that makes sense. And like I say to you, it's all about blaming you and taking the blame away from the matrix. Because if you start thinking, well, hang on a minute, maybe it's not me, maybe it's not my karma, this place is inherently messed up, then you're going to start asking more questions, and you're going to start probing, and then you're going to end up where we are, and you'll be like, this whole thing's a farce. So I've completely forgot what your original question was, but
No, you answered it because we're talking about the Dharma, the good side of things, and the other side. So you're good.
yeah, it's really weird because in my personal private life, I don't really talk much. Right, I'm quite antisocial. But you get me on one of these podcasts, I'm like, blah, blah, blah.
And let's go to one of your areas, the area that you really have you've been banging on this reincarnation wheel for the
But just
long.
right before that, I just
Yeah,
wanted to
go
mention, yeah, I
ahead.
just wanted to mention that all these things with karma and everything, they still have it a lot. Like in Middle East, it's like if something happens, something bad happens, and they would just say, if you're just gonna, I don't know, be hit by a car or whatever, like hit your head on the wall, they would just say, yeah, but you know what, maybe, or a glass would just fall down from the table and it will break. Then they would just say, oh, you know what, but it was good that this thing happened because it was like maybe something else was supposed to happen, but then at least these things happen. I'm just like, really? So,
Yeah,
like, yeah. So
yeah,
in a lot of those countries in the Middle East, they still believe, and some of them, they really have like a strong belief in karma.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw a video the other day. I don't know why YouTube keeps recommending these videos, because
Yeah.
YouTube must know that I've got a very dark curiosity. But there was this guy who's got like terminal cancer, and he was talking. He's documenting his journey, and he was like, the good thing about cancer, and I'm like, okay, enlighten me. It's like you get to learn a lot, and I'm like, oh, here we
Mm.
go. It's like,
Yeah.
I've learned so
Actually,
much.
a lot of these people, with when they have like you're mentioning cancer, they're suffering from a disease. A lot of them is from actually cancer. They actually put it up in, like you're saying, YouTube or on Instagram, and they make a journey of it,
I
and
know,
it's like a diary, and then they will just start, and people are just following them.
I know. It's weird, isn't it?
And I think it's weird because, I mean, come on, you're suffering from cancer, and but it's just like, I mean, and they would tell you, I mean, it's just a journey with details, like they have been to the hospital, they got tested for this, and now he has to get this medication, and then you see this guy being so sick he can't, it's actually
Yeah,
under his a chemotherapy, like
yeah,
chemo thing, he's going through, and it's just like they put it up, it's just like everywhere, it's not only one person, but
I
these
know.
things is starting to happening.
It's weird. I was
And I think
thinking,
it's weird.
I,
Let's say if I was going to suffer from cancer, I never want to do that.
right.
I mean, I mean, why should I do that? Like, I mean, why should I put it on Instagram or YouTube? Like, now you have to follow my journey.
I know.
It's just so weird.
Are we that desperate for attention that
Yeah.
we
And
will?
they get
Well,
popular.
they
Like,
do. They get thousands
because,
of
like,
views. They
yeah.
do. They do. And people. I mean, I include myself, because obviously I watched I watched this video, but people like that stuff gets a lot of views, and
Yeah.
I ask myself the same question. If I had terminal cancer, you wouldn't see me anywhere near a
No, because
camera.
how can you have this, like, how do you say, like this, I mean, like, how can you, I mean, be so energetic, like, did you want to put this thing up? I think if somebody told me, like, I mean, if the doctor told me, like, tomorrow you have cancer, I first of all, I think for a second, as a human being, like, you're just, your world would just fall apart, and then you think like, okay, so what am I supposed to do right now? What is it that I have to be focused on? But instead, people would just say, whoa, let's just put my journey on Instagram or
Yeah.
YouTube or I don't know, somewhere, then people can just
That
follow
is
it.
the
And they
strangest
and they
thing
film it
ever.
right
But
to
it
the
is
end,
true, Faith. You should see it.
to the last video where they're in the hospice and they're like, "This is my last."
Yeah, that's just like,
And
yeah.
it's like, why would you do that? But the other thing I noticed with that, on the ones that I've seen,
There's
is
also like in a Danish documentary with the hospice, and this girl, she was very young. It was, I think, she passed away a couple of years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and we're actually showing the whole journey. And I think it was so sad. I mean, it was just like you cry about because, but the mom, chose to, and there was a lot of talk about in the media and the news and everything that. And I was just like, man, it is your, it was your girl, your little girl, and then I don't remember like exactly what she was suffering from, but she couldn't get well. So, they put her in this hospital, and then of course she passed away. But I just think that doing a documentary and put it on a Danish, channel, and then it was just everywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the ones that I've seen, especially
Mm.
with the men, I've noticed that they seem to get towards the end and realize that they've not really left any kind of legacy. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So this guy in particular that's now saying, I'm learning lessons, and he's kind of like coming up with all this like philosophical stuff. It's almost like he's kind of reached the end, but look back and realize he's not really, because as a man, I think in particular, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
important to, leave your stamp, or, at least I think for men, I mean, for everyone, but I think for men especially, we need to feel useful to either our families or society. And I think a lot of these men, they're like near the end and they're looking, they're like, oh, no one's really going to remember me. I've not really done anything. So they stick themselves on YouTube in the last months of their life and start. It's really bizarre. I mean, it's strange.
Yeah,
But
it is. Because
yeah,
why do you want to make a video of yourself if you know that if they told you like you only have a month left to live in, or like, or 2 months, and then you want to make a documentary about that, maybe you should just be focused on some other stuff. Of course it's sad, but I think it's more sad just put it there.
I
And then
know.
like people that doesn't even know you
Yeah,
starting
and
to
all the comments are prayers, 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 like
yeah,
praying.
yeah,
Praying ever does
it's
anything for these people or anyone.
yeah.
That's the other bugbear that I have. Whenever there's some kind of you know sad thing happens or tragedy, it's always, oh, prayers, prayers, prayers. I just find that so lazy. Like, it's like, what does that actually do? What does it actually mean? It's just nothing, is it? It's just,
I wonder, Tony, whether they even actually pray.
no, of course they
I
don't.
don't think they really.
It's just virtue signaling.
Because I'll tell you, as someone who knows the badass church women, Tony, they can bust some stuff, okay? But when you're not getting better, I'm not sure these guys are calling on the warriors for real.
Yeah, no, of
I
course,
think
of
they're
course.
just virtue signaling.
Yeah, absolutely they are.
I just
Yeah.
think they just put some emojis and just they have the thing like I pray for
Oh,
you, but it's just kind of like
I can't bear it. Like, if anything happens to me, right? You girls have got my permission to say Tony does
okay.
not want any of your stupid prayers. Like, all right?
That's the deal.
Careful, Tony. We might bust out the prayer warriors.
No, I don't want. Don't you dare do that to me. I don't want any. I don't want any prayers. Just
I
let
know
me be.
you. I know you want
Yeah.
to head out. Yeah, but when you said something, Tony, and I'm not going to go deeper into this because I think it's worth noting. When you said men need to feel useful, to all our listeners, I want you to really take that and pin it somewhere, put a bookmark on it, because it explains why the men are showing up the way they're showing up today. But we're not going to go into that too
Not
much.
showing up. Do you mean?
Oh yeah. Not
Yeah.
how their manifestation of how they are behaving and talking, and where this is coming from.
Yeah, well, that's also a subject very, very dear to my heart because, well, obviously I'm a man, and sometimes it feels like quite a lonely journey being out here doing this stuff. And don't get me wrong, there are more men, you know, speaking out and stuff now, but over the last few years, it's been very frustrating. You know, I've had friends that have messaged me and people on Facebook or whatever, and they'll DM you and they'll say, Tony, it's really good what you're doing. And I don't want messages like that. I'm like, what are you doing? That's what I want. Like, what are you doing? Okay, I'm doing this. What are you doing? Right? It's like they'll take a seat and just watch you do everything and just not do anything themselves, and they're scared about what their best friend or their mum might think of them or whatever. And it's just, you know, they've done a job on both sexes, you know, with women, with feminism and all that stuff, but also the men as well. Men have been demasculated, and, you know, at least not by the food with all the estrogen, and, you know, in the alcohol, like you've got all these men down the pub drinking beer, thinking they're all manly, and they're drinking like the female hormone. So it's in our food, it's in the alcohol. You know, here, I mean, a lot of the men are very feminine, and yeah, it's a real problem, because if you take the men out of society, it's a doddle. It's a doddle to change society, because the men are the front line of defense. We're the protectors. We're the action takers. We're the providers. And so if you can get the men to stand down and you know, change them hormonally, and, you know, all the trans stuff that's been thrown in, and all the other stuff, and you can make that front line weak, then you know, I think it's easy for them, because I think a man that's embodied that, you know, not to sound new agey, but the new age ironically tells men that they need to get more feminine, which I hate. Right? We don't need more femininity in men. Oh, you need balance. No, we don't. We need men to be men. We need more masculinity. Bring on more masculinity in men, please. We don't need this.
You know, Tony, when you say it like that, there are men who take it, you know, I think we were talking a bit about this with Ola. You can say something, but the way it is received, one of our guests previously, the way something is received is so foreign to what you are trying to say. Yeah. You know, you might say be more masculine, and some guy takes it like, I'm gonna go and top my chest now and do some crazy stuff and tell my wife who's boss. You know? And this is just crazy. And it's the same thing, you know, they were told be more feminine. It didn't mean literally. You sit there and you're and there's a flood. You know, outside, you know, you're meditating instead of going to really, you know, like they had to shovel the stuff in Spain. I don't know whether you saw that.
Yeah, my mum was there. My mum was there.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah.
What's that? Your mum was there?
Yeah, unbelievable, right? So
how come your mom was there?
Well, I woke up in the morning and there was all these videos of floods, and I was like, oh God, they're at that again. Where's that? And then I saw Valencia. I'm like, oh no, my mum just went there. And when I last spoke to her, she was like going over the Pyrenees. And then I messaged her on WhatsApp. She didn't answer for a couple of hours. So then I'm like really worried. And then eventually she got back to me. She saw it all. Luckily she was staying, or she got to a place that was just outside all the flooding. But she said, yeah, women were shoveling water and buckets and, you know, off a bridge or something. And she said it made her cry, because she said, you know, you see those things on the news, but to see it in person, like how people come together in those times, and as a community, she said it broke her heart. So yeah, I mean, yeah, like I say, I'm not saying that women need to be chained to the cooker and all that stuff, like, you know.
That's how you'd be surprised, Tony.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like men should be out beating their chest, and, you know, with their club. You know what I mean? It's but there is a natural essence that women have that men have more of the opposite, and those two need to come forward. You know, women are more creative. They're more heart-based. Well, maybe not more heart-based, but yeah, they're that kind of loving, nurturing, that kind of energy. You know what I mean with that? And then, as I say, the men are the protectors and the providers and the action takers. And so it's worked well for, well, I mean, I say it's worked well in this crazy place. It worked better like that before, that kind of symbiotic nature between the two sexes. And now they've inverted both of them. Men are more feminine, women are more masculine, and that's caused a big problem because then the sexes are confused, and then they're confusing children at school who weren't confused before with over 80 different sexes that they could be, and yeah, it's just all crazy. So yeah, I feel for the men. You know, it's something that I think we need to look at ourselves in the mirror and just, you know, are we stepping up? Are we speaking our truth? And you know, not everyone's gonna like take to a world stage and that kind of stuff, but at least you know, acting in the way that is appropriate in the times that we're living in, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I get what you're saying, but I just have the awareness, you know, from experience as well. You can say one thing and then what someone hears is so strange. You know, it's like it has nothing to do with what I said, you know.
You mean they take it too personally and get offended by
No,
it?
it's like misconstruing what somebody said, because you know, you and I know that there are many reasons. You know, there are families where, you know, the father, he passed on, he died, and the woman has to hold down everything. She
Yeah,
becomes
yeah,
mother, protector, provider,
yeah,
educator. So, you know, she has to hold it down, you know. And then also, you know, there's so much. It's not just you know, there are
yeah,
many
yeah,
gray lines. And so when you're saying men have to show up, you need to show up using, you know, common sense as well. And also women, you know, and women know, you know, we're talking about women health and femininity. There's a lot happening when you lean too much on one side, health
mm,
wise, for women, you
yeah,
know, especially when it comes to, you know, the uterus, the womb, the center. So
yeah,
there's a reason for not leaning too much to the masculine and finding the center, you know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, so I get what you're saying, but I just know sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own. You know, I'm not talking about the exceptions to the rule, because I'm aware that, you know, people, there'll be single mothers, there'll be single fathers, there'll be, you know, that where the mother's not around, vice versa, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, there's always those exceptional cases where it's like you say, it's almost impossible for the woman to be totally in the feminine, because she's got to hold things together. She's got to go out and bring in the money and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of exceptions to the rule.
But there's also, like you said, vice versa. They're also single fathers, you know,
Yeah,
and they have daughters too. So you have to know a lot about the feminine as well to raise your daughters and your sons by yourself as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm talking more in the respect of just seeing what's going on in the world. Like, you know, if you're a father or whatever, I mean, even more so. I mean, I don't have children. I've got my niece and nephew, and every day I'm like, I can't give up for them. Like, if for no one else but for them. Like,
Mm.
because they were born into this, and I can't. You know, I don't want that on my deathbed. You know, you know, I knew what was going on, but I didn't really say anything. I didn't really do anything, and
Mm.
I don't want that on my conscience, you know. I want to know that, all right, shit went down, but you know, I tried my best, and I think that's all anyone can do. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's really just it's just stepping up in that sense, I think.
Yeah. And Shah, do you want to ask something? Do you want to jump in, or because I have a question about the reincarnation wheel, because I don't know why this came to me, but Tony, I was thinking about, you know how people say ancestral healing and what is the other one they say, generational and ancestral curses. I got to thinking about um what does this even mean when you've been reincarnating and it's just maybe just you in different aspects, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do
Well, I definitely think that we can do. I mean, you spoke to Ola, who's great in explaining how astrology works in terms of we're almost coded in certain aspects of our personality and character. But there
mm,
are things that we can work on to become more stable, I think, and also
Mm.
from an entity interference point of view. If you're someone that's got a lot of unhealed wounds wide open, then they're going to use them against you. But I definitely think we can go back and reparent aspects of ourselves and change those holographic imprints that are stuck there in time and space, to get them in a more secure and safe place. And so I definitely think that we can improve our lives through like sincere inner work, and that can extend into generations. I've had sessions with people where, you know, there's a lot of things that have come through the lineage through wars and stuff like that, scarcity being one of them. A lot of people have like this scarcity thing. So you definitely can work on aspects of yourself, but essentially when you zoom out, it's almost like we're being traumatized lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So you know, like you say, where does it kind of end?
Yeah. Because when you look at what they call generational and ancestral curses, and then they're going millions and millions, how do you even keep track of all this? You know what I mean? And then is it just something that is there to haunt people about their past or create this kind of confusion or chaos? And you know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
how do you
I think
track?
there is those kind of you know, energetic distortions that maybe at different times have been projected at us through different people. Or I mean, even when you look at psychic energy, I mean, just being on
Oh,
YouTube or Facebook and putting a post out, I mean, that really started me on the whole journey because of the entity side of things and all that stuff, because I was suffering so bad just from psychic energy. People were directing their negative thoughts at me over a video, and I've told the story many a times. And I was walking around what felt like a soup, like a mud, and it just felt so heavy. And then I had the clearing, and the whole thing lifted. So there's definitely a thing with bad intention, and you know, things like black magic and voodoo. It really is just energy being sent to you, which is negative. So those things can definitely stick on our energy field. And yeah, probably in the past, maybe there's been lifetimes where it was a little bit more intense with like witchcraft and things like that. I would say to just focus on this lifetime stuff, and you know, you can go into other lifetimes, but yeah, I would say just focus on what you can heal this lifetime and do the best you can, really.
yeah, because I'm a bit, I see things a bit more practical or maybe pragmatic. If I don't have evidence or proof of it, I feel like it's just, you
Mm.
know, not imaginary, but it's not bulletproof. You know, it's not like 100%. So I'm just like, okay, you know what I mean? There is not, but like you say, in this lifetime, I get what you mean. This is like something you can fix. You know, okay,
Yeah,
I said something, you know, mean or out of sorts. I can fix it. You know.
yeah. I would say the best thing anyone can do in this lifetime. I had a great comment, and it was very simple. It was learn how to die properly, and
Mm.
I would say to, as I said at the start of this podcast, it's very important people um, embody that sovereignty, and yeah, really become that kind of like sovereign warrior, I call it, where you understand who and what you are. No one's going to mess with you. No one's going to tell you that you need to come back here. No one's going to guilt trip you. No one's going to coerce you. Um, so you have to go through that process first of all. And then once you reach that process, you won't want a politician leading you anyway. So because you'll be self-led, and that's where we need to be. We need leaders, but we need people to lead themselves. That's where we really need to be. So I think the best thing you could do this lifetime is to get to the point where you are sovereign. Do the work on yourself, to become stronger, so you're not so triggered as much with the things that are happening, because the wounded child in this lifetime, let's just talk about this lifetime, that can get triggered a lot if that's not resolved. And learn really, what your plan is to get yourself out of here at the end. If you want to go, maybe you won't. Maybe you want to come back.
There are
Well,
people who come back. Shut up, you know.
I think people, some Elon Musk, they will probably come back. He already knows how the future will be in the
Well,
the
he'll have
life.
their consciousness trapped in a quantum computer, so they won't be able to ever get out.
It was so crazy. I saw, like, like in the future, you can, you don't have to get pregnant. They would just make the baby, and you can actually make the babies how intelligent they should be. Your more money you have, you can choose how tall, the different color of the eyes color.
Yeah.
And then like it was just so crazy. And then they would like to have people's opinion, like, what do you think about the future? This is how the future will be. And then they can probably choose, like, okay, well, so many females, so many male we should have in in the world. It's crazy.
Yeah, it really
So,
is.
and then
They're going to the next few years, they're going to sell us all these technological advances, and they're going to be they're going to sell us things like everlasting life, and of course,
exactly.
the herd are going to be, oh, great. So what they'll do with all the people that are coming down with all these illnesses and cancers, they're going to say, hey, the good news is, we told you that you've got a year to live. Well, actually, what we can do for you, you don't actually have to die. And they'll be like, really? And they'll be like, yeah, what we can do is we can upload your consciousness onto this USB, and so then we can stick.
I think so too.
Then we can stick you into a clone, and so it might not exactly be you, but it'll be your consciousness, and then you're trapped here forever. This is the new soul trap. And then imagine that they put that USB in a quantum computer, and you're in that quantum computer forever. I mean, have you guys seen Black Mirror?
Tony, that's a hard watch,
Yeah. And also, have you also I
watched bits and pieces of it, but I'm just like, no.
I haven't watched it.
I can't get through it. It's just so hard.
It's chilling. There's one episode where there's a couple of episodes where they talk about this consciousness transference. I won't spoil all of them, but one particular episode, this guy dies in a car crash, and the woman's at the funeral. And no, what happens? Oh no, he uploads his consciousness before or something, or she's able to upload his consciousness, and then she's talking to him on a computer. So it's like his consciousness, but he's not there. And then he convinces her to buy this clone, and so this clone of him gets delivered, and then it's kind of like she gets spooked out because it's like him, but it's not him.
It's not him,
and it's all really creepy and weird, but that's where they want to take it. And so,
what was it called?
Black Mirror. It's Black really Mirror. Creepy.
Yeah, it's there's like 5 series of it, but I mean, for research purposes, it's worth it. But it is very dark and dystopian. But that's where they want to take it. Yeah, like you say, the artificial womb, and they're going to sell all the benefits to this and how it's all wonderful. And it's going to be aimed at the kids now, because the kids now, they've got technology in their ears.
Yeah.
And, I used to go around my nephews, and he's playing games, and he's got technology attached to his head. And so it's very dark where they want to take it. And what I mean, this is like where the last line of defense here.
But you see, like, our world today is like, when you enter the train, we talked about it before as well, me and Faith, and like, when you go out today, and then whether you take the public transportation, you take the train, you take the metro, whatever, when you go inside, nobody is actually paying attention to you. No. Everybody, like, from honestly, like, from young people, from young children, from girls, to old men, you know, like women, they sit there with their phones,
Yeah.
with smartphones, iPhones, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, but I just entered the train. So if I'm going to pass out or just going to faint or just fall, nobody will notice this.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're just kind of like, the way, you know, sometimes I'm just like looking at like, it's like people are, I mean, they're becoming like a robot, or, you know, because nobody is like, you know, having this, you know, like contact, because it's just like, even when you're out, like people are sitting with their phone, like
Yeah.
in the
No one
restaurant
talks.
or the cafe. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like that, you know, you sit and actually talking with the person, you
Yeah.
know.
It's very
And
sad.
everybody is like, if you also notice that amongst women, I'm not saying me or Faith, but just like, but in general, if you see in our society, everybody's becoming looking more like each other,
Mm.
because they get all these things with their faces, you know, Botox,
Yeah.
filler, whatever. I mean, I think, you
No, I
know, by
never
the
thought
time in the
about
future, there will be some other stuff
Yeah.
that you can just put like a stick, and then you was like, okay, now I can change to be, I don't know, like you're talking about the cologne or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But the other thing that's disturbing as well, you're absolutely right. I mean, people, they don't know how to engage with each other anymore.
They
Social
don't.
anxiety is at an all-time high because people are, like you say, they're just attached to their phones. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I even have to stop myself, you know. Sometimes because I'm, you know, doing all this, I'm often online and, you know, podcasts and, you know, all that stuff. So
Yeah, but that's
sometimes
a little bit different.
yeah, but the other thing that's the phenomenon that's happening at the moment, talking about people needing attention and everything, the amount of
Mm.
people dying because they're trying to get selfies. There's been so many stories the last few months where someone's fallen off the edge of a cliff because they were trying to get.
It's true.
The other day, I read that these girls fell off the edge of a boat because they were getting a picture for Instagram. Like
Yeah.
it's just gone crazy. Like people are so desperate. Their lives are so entwined with social media that it takes precedence over their real lives. That anything to get the perfect shot, even death. You know, it's just crazy.
Mm.
It really is. It's really so sad. It really is.
It
How
is sad because,
we've
you
come.
know, here in Denmark, people bike a lot, so it's also some kind of like a transportation for them, you know, like. And then I was there was one girl like the other day, and I could see like she was on the bike, and then she was having her, and there was so many people out there. She was having her phone and she was biking, and at the same time she was, you know, like biking and taking the selfie,
Yeah, yeah.
and
It's
it's crazy.
yeah. I mean, even here, like in the water, people are they got their phones in the plastic cases to take in the sea. I mean, it's like it never ends. It's like can't you just
I need to take a dive, man. I want to see the
can't you
sharks,
just
but I
like
want to
leave
have
it
my
for
phone
1
with
minute?
me.
Oh, don't even get me started on my local spa where people are. You know, people taking their mobile phones into the sauna and speaking, like having like business meetings in the sauna. Oh, geez.
It's good that they're not gonna, you know, pass out or anything.
Ah, it's just
It's like we're having a meeting and the
I had a
CEO
big
is
argument
sitting,
with
you
the
know.
guy. I had a big argument in there because you know they're supposed to be quiet, right? It's just it's the gym. It's the gym that I'm gonna have
Oh.
a right old rant now because yeah, it's like so I'm in there and I'm laying down. This guy comes in and he sits like behind me, like almost, and then I start hearing like the noise of the phone, someone talking. I'm like, he hasn't bought his phone, and then he starts talking into it, and I'm like, I can't believe this. So
Yeah, but
then
it's
I
also
get up,
very, but
I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, and he looked at me as like a complete robot. I was like, this isn't like an office. This is a sauna. This is a sauna. And he's like that, like no, like just
yeah, he didn't know
nothing
what
there.
to
Like
answer
the
you
lights are
because he
off.
knew you were right.
But
But you also notice what kind of like, you know, field that you're working at. But the thing is that where I'm working, like we get a lot of customer, and you just have them in your face. A lot of these people comes in, and then you ask them, how can I assist you? They don't listen. I mean, they can't hear you because they're coming in with their headphones.
yeah.
And I'm like, and I said the number 3 or 4 times. I had like one customer today, And then I asked him like, so what is your number? He said, I have this number. I said, well, I said it 4 times. And he kind of, he actually got pissed off of me. He
Yeah.
was Danish. He was living at the state. And then I said, well, you need to come to me. He said, I need to come to you. I said, yeah, because you need me to assist you. So I shouldn't come to you. You should come to me. At that point, we didn't have any chemistry there. So I was just like, and then he was so, and then we have a lot of people coming in, and then when I can see, then when you ask them, hi, can I assist you, they don't answer you, or they're coming in and they're talking, yeah, mommy, I need to do this and this and this. I'm just like, are you here to pick up something, or you want to finish your conversation and then you can come and ask us? I just say, so next one.
The whole time I'm hearing all this, I'm remembering our first episode, Tony, where you reminded me, you said, but Faith, these are NPCs, they're the extras who are here to kind of piss you off.
Yeah, they are, and they do.
But they really piss you off.
My friend,
because you don't get any respect. You just kind of like,
My friend here, we laugh because we talk about all this all the time. And the other day, she sent me this video. She's like, Tony, I was just about to have a session with the client, and look what happened. And there was a picture of this guy with a leaf blower outside of her. He's like, I just literally sent the Zoom link, and this guy just come out of nowhere with his leaf blower.
It's crazy. But
that statement really helped, because now you can identify the scene.
Oh yeah, once you see it, you can't unsee it either. It's
like, you can't unsee it.
They'll move in next door. They're just
yeah. But it's like, in general, if when you see it, it's kind of sad, because maybe you didn't have this, you didn't have that kind of society maybe for 20 years ago. People were more like, with each other, like engaging with each other. But you don't have that kind of like thing anymore, because people are just forgetting themselves. They're forgetting it, like, each other, and then everything is on this computer, on this phone.
But I think it's intentional, Shah.
Even with a family. Yeah, of course. My parents always say they make this
to usher you into a different. We're going into it's intentional. If you're having dinner with your family like we used to growing up, where everyone sat and talked about the day and all that, if you were doing that, there are less social problems, in a sense. So they need you grabbing your pizza, fast food, going and eating in your room as you play your video games. All this is intentional. Then you have the children with their anxiety and their panic attacks and attention deficit, all these different things.
Do you remember the old phones, the Nokias, where all you had was the game?
Oh, I had them. I got it from my dad. It was my phone. It was actually my first phone. That's many years ago. I was still in college here. Yeah, and I was so proud. I got this phone. At that phone, it was only calling. You couldn't even text message. No. And there was, in Denmark, it was like those like a SIM card. And then you could have like 100 crowns or whatever. And then you said, oh my God, my time is up. I can't talk, because otherwise you had to, it was. But, and they were so big, and you were like, so shit, this is so, but exactly. And then they keep, improving and improving with technology. Yeah. And this is what it is today. So
that's why they call it a cell phone, right? It's a prison cell. And I mean, I don't know if it can be stopped, I think, the way it's going.
They also say it's actually not good for your brain. It does. Yeah. Even you have headphones on or your headset, but it does something from the phone, and then
The other day, the other thing that annoys me, the way it reads your mind. I was thinking, there's this Mexican food called birria, right? It's like meat inside or like not a taco, but bigger than a taco, tortilla. And it's my favorite Mexican food, right? And I was in a different room to my phone. Like, my phone was here in the kitchen, and I was in my bedroom when I thought about it. And then I came back in the kitchen, and I went onto Instagram, and there's advertisements for birria. I'm like, What the? Oh, dear.
I know.
Oh
Even the
shit.
odds, you look at some, you'll think of, or you have a conversation about something, and then you go on your phone, and it's all the ads.
But
Just
it's not even a
Yeah, it's
conversation.
true.
It's a
yours is on a
thought.
whole other level. Maybe we need to pay attention to this.
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
I'm sure it's listening to us all the time.
Yeah,
It does. It
but you're
does.
in
It takes.
another room. That's a whole other
Yeah, I
level.
couldn't believe it. So, yeah, I don't know where this is all going to end. Probably.
I mean, my husband, he always like turned off his phone, and then he actually, turned on again in the morning. But I have my open like the whole night. But I have it. Like, I mean, of course, I have it like on silence.
Mm,
But but it's true. Maybe it's a good thing to just close it down,
yeah.
and then that's it. You go, so and then actually it's funny because even though it's iPhone, and what, like, always me and Faith, and especially Faith, she always calls it like your smartphone. And then but the thing is that it's
Yeah, because it's pretty smart. They
it,
tell you in the name.
they tell
But
you
it's an inversion, isn't it? It's like anything
because
that's smart is dumb.
That's smart.
Like
and then yeah,
yeah.
and then it comes up. So now it's around like if you're sitting, let's say, on Instagram or something, and then it shows up, it says, so now it's time for you to close this. And I mean, the message just comes up, and then you can say ignore, or you can just continue.
Mm,
I
yeah.
mean, you can just
Oh,
go
it
ahead and do
tells
it.
you that you have used too much. Or what is it telling you?
Yeah, it tells you now is about your bedtime. So
Yeah.
now you should.
Yeah.
It's true.
I know. I've
Yeah,
got it in mine. I'm like, how do you know?
Oh my
exactly. How do you know I should go?
God!
It pops up. Actually it pops up whether you're like, let's say you're watching the
It's your
news or whatever.
bedtime.
Yeah,
Wow.
it comes up now. It's about like your bedtime, and then it's and the other day it pops up. It said maybe it's good that you just turn it off, and then just and then have it open again at I think it was at 7 or 7:30 or something. I was like, okay.
You
And
have
then
a
you
very
can
smart
just click
AI
on
show.
pass or ignore, or just say, okay, I will do it. So
Yeah.
this is
Well,
how it is, our society
but
today.
I have just one last question, and then we can head out, because I wanted, for the longest time, I've just been waiting to ask this. But so, Tony, the afterlife, right? You know that depending on your maybe religious belief or new age belief or whatever, right? You have a certain expectation of your afterlife, right?
Mhm.
So I was wondering, like, does the expectation based on your how you've been socialized or programmed or taught or educated, does the concept of the afterlife influence how you live your life? Meaning you're not living your life how you would live it outside of this expectation of the afterlife. What is your take on that?
Are you talking about when you leave, like how
How
it
it
will?
influences your choices today?
Yeah. Well, I think
Because the Muslims have a different concept, the Christians have a different one, the New Agers, the Hindus, and then it now starts to mold the choices you make. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's mind control, isn't it? Literally, it's the Latin word for religion is religare or something, which means to bind the mind. And yeah, if you get caught up hardcore in one of those, it's especially from a young age. I mean, I feel really sorry for the people that get born into a very heavy religious family, because then that molds you, it shapes you just like anything would, because they're our most receptive years. That's when the subconscious is wide open. That's when they try and get all the kids with all the brainwashing. And so if you're born into one of those families, it's going to be very difficult to maneuver your consciousness out of that, because it's going to be so heavily entrenched in you as you grow older. And then, of course, you've got people around you, family, that are going to really turn against you if you decide to walk your own path. So for those people, it's incredibly difficult move into any kind of awareness, because the mind is bind, as the word explains to us. So, and then of course the most evil thing is they hit you with all that stuff when you die. So if you believe in if you were born into a heavy religious Christian family, Jesus, and you believe Jesus all your life, who do you think this algorithm God is going to present to you at the pearly gates when you pass over? It's going to be Jesus. If you're a Muslim, then it's going to be Allah. If you're a New Ager, it's going to be your angels. It's going to be your guides. It works in an algorithmic way, and it will start everything up. Okay, the best chance of us hooking Shah back round is, she was really into Archangel Michael when she was alive, so we'll present Archangel Michael, and also she was very close to her dead to granddad. So this is the cruelest thing, the dead loved ones. They use dead loved ones as well. And then of course, when you die, they hit you with the false light frequency technology. So they love bomb you. So it kind of stuns you. And then your angel's there, your granddad's there. They put on a big show for you. And then the next thing you know, that's it. So it's very hard to down the years, 10 years, maybe longer of doing this now. I could probably count on one hand the amount of religious people I've got to think again about their religion. It's very difficult.
Yeah, because I was looking at the concept, because we talk about reincarnation a lot, especially when you come on. And of course, then you have to talk about the afterlife, right? Or what happens after you die. But I was looking at, if there was no discussion on the afterlife, if there was no concept of the afterlife, no one talked about it, it was never brought up ever, 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 then most of the spiritual traditions that are in place, or the religious belief systems and behaviors or culture and traditions, they would not be there. Everything would almost not be there, because it seems like everything people are doing within these different spiritual traditions or religious beliefs is linked to the afterlife. Or am I getting it wrong? Because I was just thinking to myself, if you just took out the afterlife, then Muslims
if you take out God, I mean, even the words God-fearing, when I hear that, I'm like, what? Say that again? You believe in something that you should fear? I mean, that's like me fearing my mother. My mother created me. It's like, oh, I'm mother fearing. Like, it's just, none of it makes sense. And so without all of that, it's they play on that, and also it keeps people in line, because people are worried about going to hell or going to heaven, and then if you're New Age, it's karma. So it's the same thing rehashed, heaven, hell, karma. It's like, okay, you've been bad, you've got a lot of bad karma, you need to go back. Okay, you've been bad, you need to go back down, or you're going to hell, right? It's like they just use these concepts to shoehorn people. It's really, they're set up down here, but they're most potently used in the afterlife and by these entities, because that's how they're going to convince you to come back down again against your will, because nobody really ever wants to come back, and you can see that in the NDEs and all that stuff. So it's all a big grand set up, and like I say, I feel sorry for people that are born into those heavily religious cultures. It's not even just families; like it's whole entire cultures, isn't it?
It is cultures, because the more I observe it, I started to listen closely, Tony, to when people would talk. They would be like, yeah, maybe in my next lifetime. It's a joke, but it just shows how it's deeply ingrained, or they say, yeah, I'm doing this, so that my children, I want to give them some good karma. It's always connected. Even, how you do good, you want to go to heaven. You make a mistake, it's hell. It's again the afterlife. It's after you die. The expectation of these, good or bad, like you said, hell or heaven, or the Muslims reward, or everyone has their own thing.
And nobody knows I mean, where we go. I mean, who says that there is heaven, or like there is paradise, or there is hell?
Yeah,
But
I
I
mean,
know,
that's
I
a whole
mean, we
nother
also have in
podcast,
our
that one.
culture.
But they've set up certain realms within the astral that appear to be heaven, appear to be hell, and they take these people there, and the person thinks that they're in heaven or they're in hell, and so there are these realms set up that are fake heaven and hells that they take people to, and again use them to bend people to submission and get them to run agendas for them or send them back down so they can say, hey, don't worry, when I had my NDE, I went to heaven and my angel was there, and God told me I had free will. I had to come back though because I had a mission. So
Your free will.
and you're like, well, what's your mission? And they're like,
What's your mission?
They never know their mission.
Are you serious, Jane?
When you watch these NDEs and they're like, they my guide said I had a mission. They don't elaborate what their mission is. It's just they're just back down here like agents of the Matrix.
Well, Tony, it was nice having you on. More power to you. I mean, you really have thick skin and a thick stomach. You have a stomach for this. I don't know how you do it.
Yeah, I don't sometimes. Trust me.
Yeah, I really don't know how you can do it because some things are just like you say. You were told you have a mission, but you don't know the mission.
I think there's different. There's a difference between like a mission, like some entity's going to say you got, and then there's coming in line with a purpose to life, and I think that's I think those two things are very different, and but no, thanks again. I love coming on the channel. We always have good banter and good laughs, and I love you guys' energy. And it was great to meet Shah this time. I didn't.
It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, Tony. Keep up the good work, and
very honest about everything.
They don't know it actually takes a lot of energy sometimes to do this stuff.
Yeah,
because you make it look easy. Anyway, Shah, you want to have the last word, and then I'll let Tony take us out.
I just want to say, first of all, it was nice to meet you. And then second of all is that everything that you mentioned today, you brought up some good topics, and then, and we were all agree about the things we were talking about, especially with the people putting our journey on Instagram. But in general, we talked about it, and you came up with some good, topics and some good conversation. So yeah, it was cool.
Thank you.
And you take it very easy, so.
Yeah. I have good days and bad days, but
okay. So we have to be careful next time.
Yeah. But no, I would just say, just to wrap it up, I would just say to anyone listening, just remember your sovereignty. Get in tune with your sovereignty. No one has the right to tell you what to do, how to do it. No one has the right to judge you or your life. Certainly not some reptilian entity masquerading as your nan or something. And just take responsibility. No one's coming to save you. That's the message that I really want to get across to people. We have to be our own saviors. We all have to become self-led, our own leaders. And I think once we get there, I think we stand a really good chance of not only getting out of here, but I think we can hopefully, I don't know if this place can be changed, but I think we can certainly help in that process of hopefully, being the start of maybe bringing it down and just changing it maybe on an astral level. Once we get out of here, you're kind of like taking the batteries out. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. Thank you, Shah. Thank you, Tony. To all our listeners, thank you for stopping by. This was our smart guest, Tony Sayers, hanging out with us. All his information and the work he does will be in the description. So make sure you stop by, have a look, browse and see what floats your boat. And then, feel free to get in touch and reach out. Okay. Thank you. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye-bye.